Joanne.
Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Okay. And who is this?
This is our wonderful Monica.
Oh, Monica, so nice to see you. How are you? Tell me a little bit about what is it like working here?
So I work as a program administrator. So I help Ripon with meeting with parents, talking about progress reports, setting up students' programs to make sure they're set up for success.
Okay.
And I help Catherine, our program administrator, with scheduling and so I started here in February of 2023. I started as a tutor, and then I worked my way up to a program administrator in August 2023, and then in November 2023, that same year, I got promoted to assistant director, and that's where I've been since.
So you've stayed here and helped. What drew you to Huntington in the first place to become a tutor?
I like giving back to the community. I like working to help people, and I have a passion for education and learning. So I want students to get the tools to be able to grow as learners, and get the most effective kind of tools in order to succeed in their schools or even in college.
Right. And Monica, you're the face when someone comes in, right? I mean, you're the greeter, and I feel that's so important. And Ripon and I talked about that. When people come in, it's their first time here and they're not sure what to expect. And you're just a smiling person and kind, and that's very receptive to someone to see on the other end. And Ripon, how did you describe Monica? She does everything. You do it all.
I always thought she makes my life easier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You guys are both a blessing to each other, right? Hi everyone, this is Joanne, and I'm here with Ripon. Bhuiya! I love that. We just actually did that a few seconds ago, so he does that all the time. So we're here at Huntington Learning Center. You get a sneak peek today about Huntington Learning Center and what it has to offer. Now we're here at the Mokena, Illinois location, and Ripon, you've been here 8 years, is that correct? Oh my gosh, so he's gonna tell us all about Huntington Learning Center, so stick around for that. So Ripon, tell us a little bit, how did you get started with this?
Right. So my degree, first of all, is industrial organizational psychology. And what I did was I actually worked for 7-Eleven for about 14 and a half years. And I wanted to really have a business of my own. As much as I like 7-Eleven, I love working with the people, I wanted to do something where I felt like I was making more of a difference. So I really fell in love with the philosophy of Huntington, where I read stories about their students that couldn't read, to being on the honor roll, to getting them into their dream colleges. Like, this is what I want to do, because I'm passionate about helping students and people, and I felt like this was a perfect opportunity and fit for me.
That was perfect. And I'm that believer that all roads kind of lead us where we're supposed to be. Like you said, you found material that you had to read, or you found to read about Huntington Learning Center to kind of put you in this direction. What is the mission of Huntington Learning Center?
So Huntington Learning Center's mission is to give each student the best education possible.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, there are teachers that obviously love to teach. They would love to give it extra individualized attention to students that maybe are falling behind. They can't do so. And that's where we come in to make sure each student does have the best education possible.
Yeah, so perfect. I'm gonna take it a little further. So now, a student and their family, they're ready to get some additional help. What is that process like for them coming here to Huntington?
Right, so what we do is we start them off with an academic evaluation. Mom or dad will typically call in advance and say, you know what, I'm really concerned for my student because the teachers are saying he's not doing well, he can't read or comprehend. So we do an academic evaluation. As soon as they come in through the doors, we have 2 wonderful staff members, Monica, Catherine, and myself. We try to make ourselves available to greet the parents with the child when they're first coming in, to make them feel warmly greeted, make them feel comfortable, like, this is the right place. You've made a good decision to come here and get the process started with our academic evaluation.
Right. And that's so important. Like you said, you're making a student feel welcome. I mean, I think back to when I was a child, I was very shy and I did not do very well in school. So to have that coming into a place would, like, you just almost flourish, I think, in that environment. What happens then? What is the evaluation like once the student comes in and you meet with their parental figures as well?
Right. So it depends on the type of service. So for what we call Learning Center academic skills, they would do a full battery of tests. That would include, for example, reading, that we have them read out loud, we have them read silently, we check comprehension. We also check with their vocabulary or sight word capacity. For kids that are typically 3rd grade and under, we also give them a phonics test to see how much phonics they've mastered as far as the skills. Because when it comes to reading, the 2 strong legs that we talk about, it's the sight words and it's also the phonics mastery that puts together to be able to read. So in addition to that, we have them do a writing sample. We also have them do a STAR analysis, which is it's a standardized test to see how do they compare to other peers in the same grade level within reading, within math skills. So that's web-based, that's adaptive. It's honestly also an open-ended questions that they're faced with. So, but in addition to that, with the math, we give them a Huntington math placement test. So the difference with that test is it's not a multiple choice. We want them to be able to do the work and show the work when they're coming up with the answer. So for example, a 3rd grader, we've seen some students that they really haven't mastered skills going back to maybe 1st grade. So now we have a game plan. We know what we need to do to fill in those gaps to help that individualized student build their individualized program.
That is pretty comprehensive, Ripon. I mean, I'm listening to all of this. This isn't you come in for 5 minutes and we're just going to get started. So there's a learning services, and I know there's 2 other services that you offer as well. Tell me about that.
So the other 2 services that we help is called exam prep related. So it could be ACT or SAT prep. So the state of Illinois last summer, they made the announcement, we are now focused on the ACT. It's a requirement for graduation from high school. But in addition to that, the other reason obviously it's important is because if you want to go into a top college, you need good test scores, not just to get in, but honestly, it also opens up doors for scholarship money for the families. We've actually helped students that raise their test scores on average 5.4. Now, last time in April, we've seen increases as much as 7 points to one student had a 10-point increase. But again, that leads to scholarship money where there's been more than $71,000 of scholarship money that the students and families have been able to get because of the good results we've been able to work together with them.
Wow, and I'm almost thinking, Ripon, and obviously there are costs for services to come here, but I almost feel like it will be free, so to speak.
It's definitely returning, yes.
Right, with the scholarship. And then there's another type of process you do as well.
Exactly. It's called subject tutoring.
Okay.
So that's in any particular subject that the student may be feeling they need help with. It could be from basic algebra all the way to higher level math like calculus, any of the sciences like biology, chemistry, physics. So the student typically comes in, they bring in their homework, we help them with any kind of tests or quizzes that are coming up with a study guide. And again, we work with them one-to-one to help them improve.
Okay. So now does every student that comes in retain the learning services part first?
It depends on what, we also try to understand what are the goals and expectations. So it depends on what their goals and expectations are. We've had some students have done a hybrid program. So what that means is maybe they need some subject tutoring, focus to help improve their grades right away, but we need to go back a little bit deeper, because if we're just understanding and helping them understand algebra, for example, we're putting a Band-Aid on the solution. We're not going back deeper to understand pre-algebra skills that, again, they may not have mastered. So once we get to the root cause of what they're deficient in, then they see that, you know what, this is more of a not just a temporary solution, but more of a permanent solution.
And Ripon, the more I chat with you about this isn't a quick, again, 5-minute come in and talk to you and have a nice day. This is very comprehensive to not only understand, maybe like you said, if there's a deficiency in math, for example, it goes beyond that. How does a student learn, and what is their comprehension level?
So the students, again, everybody's a little bit different. You know, their personalities are different, their students are different. So what we do is, again, because of that academic evaluation, and you're right, it's not 5 minutes. On average, it's a couple of hours. It could be 2.5 to 3 hours long, because we're trying to get a full picture, almost like a doctor's analysis of where do we need to help the students pinpoint what they need. And again, each student is not going to have the same program. They're going to be a little bit different, because we know what their strength and weaker areas are. And we know what we need to help them more specifically with. So each individual is going to be approached that way, where they're going to have that individualized program for them.
And I feel like as a parent, I'm just sitting here listening to you speak, and it's like, I feel relief in that, knowing that my child is in good hands. They're going to really be helped, like a long-term, kind of consistent program. How does Huntington Learning Center collaborate between communicating with the parental figures, communicating with the schools?
That's a great question, because I believe it's all about teamwork. So when the parents come in there, again, with that academic evaluation, we have that program. Typically, as we get to 12 hours of instruction, we have a follow-up with the family, because we want to be able to share, here's what, for example, Johnny is working on. We want to be able to give you some specific feedback of how the sessions are going. In addition to that, we also reach out to the classroom teacher to try and find out how is Johnny doing in the classroom. So this way we're collaborating and working together with the classroom teacher. The family's working at home, we're working together at Huntington. Everybody's working together to help the individual student.
And you raised a good point, Ripon. I feel a student can be different in their home setting than perhaps in a classroom setting where they have more students around them. That maybe could be a distraction. And I feel like Huntington really dives deep into those concerns too, with that. What is the goal of your company here, maybe over the next 5 years?
So within Huntington Learning Center, Mokena?
Yes.
Right. So, you know what, I always said when I first opened up, my goal honestly was not to make $1 million or be $1 million center. My goal was to try to help as many students as possible, and really to give the utmost experience of something that when people come in, they're going to realize, oh, these people really care about me and my child. So my goal, honestly, is to continue to fulfill that mission of giving each student the best education possible, but also to give it to them in a caring way where we're helping as many students as we possibly can. Honestly, I don't have a number in mind. So.
Right. Like you said, you're there to care for each student individually. And I know, and we got a little sneak peek for you too, because we're going to meet one of your staff members as well today. Her name is Monica. Tell me about the staff that you have here.
Right. So Monica's our assistant director. We also have Catherine. She's actually a programming administrator as well.
Okay.
So there are 2 other staff members besides myself. But between the staff members and the teachers, we probably have close to 30 individuals. These are very highly skilled, highly professional individuals. They all have to have a college degree. So at different backgrounds, because it depends on what the expertise of these instructors are. So for example, we have a teacher that has a PhD in physics. He's been working with us probably about 3 years or so. Before he actually got his doctor's degree, he was going to school to get that doctor's degree in physics. So back to subject tutoring, obviously helps students that need help with physics, but he's also helped students with advanced math within calculus, within the ACT, SAT math and sciences as well. So we have some wonderful individuals who have that same passion that I do to help the students and make sure that they're doing well and they're fulfilling our mission.
You have such a collaborative team here, I can tell. I mean, it comes from you, and I can see it in your staff when I'm here. Everyone likes to work together, and you're here for the main thing you should be, the student. And now, in Ripon, you do not just cater to maybe kindergarten through 3rd grade.
Yes,
it could be all age levels.
That's a very good point. We really help from kindergarten through high school. Having said that, we've had some students that are in college that are still getting some help with our services, ideally with math. They're having some struggles with some of the higher level math, but even college students come to us as well.
Do you see a lot of adult students?
That's a good question. We don't see a lot of adults.
Okay.
However, I remember a few years ago, we had a middle-aged gentleman. He wanted to improve his reading skills. So he came to us for help and we helped him.
So tell me, Ripon, you were mentioning there's little sweepstakes going on too right now. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Huntington Learning Centers, we actually have a scholarship offer where the students can win $4,000. We actually do this twice a year, from the first half of the year, January 1st to June 30th, and then the second half of the year from July 1st to the end of December. So all they have to do is there's a phone number that you can text to win, but to make it easier, there's actually a QR code that the students actually can go ahead and scan from their smartphone, and that'll help them put into a drawing for that $4,000.
Wow. Can you enter more than once on this?
So you're supposed to do it once.
Okay. Just checking.
Here's the thing. We actually had a winner right here in Mokena a little over 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
So prior to that, it was probably more than 10 years that we had a winner locally within the Chicago area.
Well, that's exciting. So it's kind of like, it can happen to you.
Absolutely.
Sort of moment,
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. So Ripon, tell me, how can a family get started for their student? What is the first thing they need to do?
So the easiest way, because again, there are well over almost 300 centers in the United States, they can actually make it easier. They can call 1-800-CAN-LEARN. As soon as you call that number, you'll be directed to the closest Huntington Learning Center that you live by within the zip code that you enter.
Okay, perfect. And that's it. They'll get in touch with the staff member and then schedule an appointment from there.
Right. So we'll try to understand again what the goals, expectations are, where the concerns are from that individualized family.
Okay.
And then we can go ahead and proceed forward, ideally with an academic evaluation.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Yep.
Ripon, thank you so much for being here today and joining me and telling all of us about Huntington Learning Center. I love being with you. I always learn so much.
Thank you, Joanne. You're so nice, and I love the opportunity that we can work together, and again, this opportunity to tell people about Huntington. I really appreciate that.
It's such a great space, everyone. Please call Ripon and his staff. You won't be sorry. They're very genuine people and caring for you. Take care. Thank you.